What's up, everybody? What's up, everybody? It's been a minute. Man, I ain't seen y'all. Where y'all been hiding at? Nah, all jokes aside, all good, all good. I've been working. I'm a grandpappy now. I got responsibilities and priorities. My little princess has arrived, and we have a new addition in our family, Nevaeh, and she's doing well. Life is going well. Work been going. So back on the grind, back on the hustle. You know what I mean? Like I say, you know what I'm saying? I'm a small time hustler trying to get it. I ain't with being broke. So here I am again on YouTube. You missed me? Okay, I ain't been live. I didn't go last week, you know what I'm saying? My bad, you know what I'm saying? Like I say, things come up, I got things going on. But life is good. Life is so good. I've been uh I've been trying to figure out, how to make things happen. Damn fool. Oh, good looking out, Key. Good looking out, man. You know what I'm saying? Just uh uh life keeps me going, man. Like I say, no complaints, you know what I'm saying? I got another little princess in the house, and it's crazy because my little princess has given birth to another princess. But life goes on, right? Hey, you know what I'm saying? Don't you got all girls too? You know how it is. But like I say, I'm blessed. You know what I mean? My girls, you know what I'm saying, they the best. They smarter than I ever was. Yeah, you know what I'm saying? So you know how it is, man. You know what I'm saying? I'm just here trying to, you know what I'm saying, prepare them for what life has in store. And that's the thing, it's some messed up shit. It's some messed up stuff out here, it's some messed up people out here. And I know because I used to be one of them. I don't know, I'm not as messed up anymore, but you know what I'm saying, like I say, I'm still working on it. So, you know what I mean, I can change that. No. Uh I've been on a mission, trying to make sure my family has a legacy, a place, you know what I mean, and I'm the leader of the ship, you know what I mean? So it's my job to guide it, you know what I mean, to a position so that, my seeds have a position and have a place and have the things they need. My first grandchild will be here in December, I think. Oh yeah, hey. Blessings, family growing, dog. You know what I'm saying? That's a good thing. I'm not mad. I'm not, you know what I'm saying, I'm so happy is having life. I wake up early in the morning and I go to work. So, when my alarm goes off, sometimes before the alarm goes off, I'll hear, you know what I'm saying, baby Nevaeh, you know what I'm saying, and you know what I'm saying, just having new life in the house, you know what I mean, is a blessing, and it ain't never bad, you know what I'm saying, when she's calling for some food. And just being able to be there and be present for her, you know what I'm saying, on these stages of her growth, it's all new to me. So I'm a happy grandpappy. Life is good. Like I said, life is good, man. You know what I'm saying? But work been work, I gotta go get it and they giving it to me and I ain't turning it down. Now, you know what I'm saying, I'm back here, you know what I'm saying, trying to, you know what I'm saying, give y'all a little something, something. But that's the thing, it's like so much has been going on because like I'm still working on self, I have my own issues. I've been diagnosed PTSD and all this other stuff. But you know what I'm saying? I'm the can't stop, won't stop guy. I'm gonna keep going no matter what. You know what I mean? Just keep pushing. Can't stop, won't stop. I think I can. I think I can. I think I'm that little engine. Because when I was, you know what I mean, running wild, you know what I'm saying? I was running through shit. But once that train gets off the track, you already know once you off the track, you ain't going nowhere. A train is heavy and it's just gonna spin its wheels unless you on the track. So now I learned to get myself on track. And that's from what I'm saying, that's what I'm saying, mainly due to the wife, what I'm saying, having family and structure and all the stuff I've been through has got me to where I am now. But now is just, what I'm saying, the next step and where I'm going. Cause I'm not sure. You know what I mean? Life can throw you a curveball every now and then. But that don't mean, what I'm saying, I ain't ready to knock this one out the park. But like I say, what I'm saying, I'm just happy, what I'm saying, that family, everybody healthy, everybody good. It's a blessing having, what I'm saying, well, I got, like I say, I got all women, so what I'm saying, it's a blessing to have my family and people that care about you. That's who you want to be around. Most of my life I spent it around people that didn't like me. I put myself in situations. I don't blame it on nobody else. I don't blame nobody else or make no excuses. I'm saying, I made my bed and I had to sleep in it, and many a times, I'm saying, that was a fucked up bed. But this is, I'm saying, this is how you learn, what I mean? Because when you realize this, like, okay, well, maybe, I'm saying, next time I make the bed better, what I'm saying, because I might have to lay in it. And, what I'm saying, that's the thing, when you come to realize, oh, okay, what I'm saying, then you're able to make changes. A lot of people ain't ready for that. You got to be mentally ready for that. That's like I see a lot with what's going on in society. They talk about the homelessness and all this and getting people, taking people and getting them off of drugs and putting them into treatment. How you gonna make somebody do anything? That's not gonna work. All you gonna do, what I'm saying, is put people back in a cage. That's some bullshit. You can't make nobody get help. Come on now. You can lead a horse to water, but what? You can't make it drink. You can't put people into a program and expect them to just, I'm saying, get better. If they don't want to get better, they're not going to get better. If they don't want it, it ain't going to work. You know, I got out, I wanted something different. I got out of prison almost 9 years ago. And this is the longest I've been out since I was 9 years old. And this is the best I've ever been doing. This is the most I've had. This is, I have a granddaughter. I'm so blessed. You know what I mean? Life, I'm saying, but that's the thing. When I first came home, I didn't know what I was doing. I was just, just fumbling my way through just to make it. And a lot of the times there wasn't a blueprint. There wasn't assistance. There wasn't a guide. There wasn't no one with a light showing me the way. Hopefully, I'm saying, I can get into a position where I can help somebody else. Because it's a lot of traps. It's a lot of pitfalls set up for when you get out to put you back in because the system wants you inside because as long as you're a number, you're a profit. You're making money for the system. And as long as you're making money for the system, you're wanted. And that's the thing, what I'm saying? So many people get caught up and then it's so hard to get out. My homeboy J.O. Felony, he got a song, Easy to Get In, but it's hard as hell to get out. And that's some real shit. You know what I mean? Because, once you get in the system, look, my first dealings with the law enforcement, I was 9 years old and I shot somebody, Were there extenuating circumstances? Yes. Does it matter? No. I went to juvenile hall, a 9-year old child, who was trying to protect his mother. Somebody hit my mom and I shot him. Was I wrong? No. But what I'm saying, that's just my opinion. The courts didn't see it that way. I was charged with assault with a deadly weapon at 9 years old. I got summary probation. It was, like I said, I was 9. They took me to juvenile hall. They let me go that day. My parents came and got me. It was a bad situation, you know. But like I say, the past is what makes you who you are. Everything you go through is what makes you. This is what creates the person you are. What kind of person do you want to be? When I was a kid, all I wanted was a name and a reputation. People that know me, if you were looking at what, what I'm saying, that was all I wanted. That was it. I didn't want nothing else. I wasn't in it for the money. It wasn't a lot of money. Sometimes it was, but it wasn't a lot of money. I was gang banging, so I wasn't, always hustling. Gang banging was my priority. And that, led me to over 20 years in the California Department of Corrections. So learning, this is how you do it. If you don't go through nothing, how you supposed to learn something? I've been through some things. I've made some mistakes. I'm not perfect, but look at me now. You know what I mean? I look. I'm I'm someone who you can learn from. Some people teach you what to do. Some people teach you what not to do. And I can show you a whole lot of what not to do because I tried everything. I tried all kinds of hustles from, stealing cars, breaking into houses to, whatever you can think of. Anything to make a buck. Because when you don't have nothing, desperation is a cold organ grinder. Anyway, so yeah, life is good. I've been at work, hustle, hustle, hustle. Gotta, gotta chase the bag. Cause ain't nobody, ain't nothing for free out here. Ain't no free lunches and everything going up. In California, man, I don't know what it is, but they trying to chase us up out of here. And now I just seen some things on the news, I don't know what to believe half the time, because the news is a setup because they only tell you what they want you to hear. So, they're telling me this, they're telling me that. And it's all, political this, political that. I'm not in it. I'm cool, y'all look, Democrats, Republicans, it's it's two sides of the same coin. It's it's two sides of the same coin. The United States and the republic for which it stands. So which is it? That's the thing, uh, I don't know. So I let it go. But yeah, I've been I've been working on I've been working on making sure the grandbaby is taken care of. My priorities. But nah, I've been thinking when I was during my incarceration, one thing I noticed was the free staff. And a lot of people that I've talked to don't know what free staff when I say free staff in prison. So when you're in prison, you have the correctional officers, which are the prison guards, and these are the prison police. And they're everywhere. They're in every building. They're in every door, exit, or whatever. Tower. And you know what I'm saying? Those are the ones you deal with on a regular basis. But there's other people that are not police and they are free staff. So free staff might be the cook in the kitchen. This one cook in the kitchen, and then he has cooks who are inmates who he directs to take care and prepare the food for all the people. So that's a free staff, right? Then there's also the free staff that are working as a clerk or a counselor or uh, in PIA. Free staff is PIA. In PIA, there's a lot of free staff. I was in PIA, and I was in textiles, and then they had optical, laundry, maintenance, and then later on they opened up a shoe factory. And but they had a lot of a PIA where in the prison I was one of the prisons I was at. So all of them, they have free staff who know how to run the equipment and they teach the inmates so that we can do the work. But they pay us pennies, slave wages, literally. You know what I mean? You know, when this was, I think I got there in 2000, no, 1998. Damn, yep. Hey, real shit. You know what I'm saying? You know the man, you know what I'm saying? He was there with me for many years. But like I said, I got there in 1998. I hit the 3 yard, and you know what I'm saying, I got into to PIA, and they had free staff. On all the free staff in the textile mill were Indians from India. Anthony, what's up with you, man? Thanks for tapping in. Thanks for tapping in. 8 to 16 cents an hour. Man, look, PIA starts you out at 30 cents an hour and you work your way up from there. So I started off at 30 cents an hour. Man, I've been blessed living my life, man. You know what I'm saying? You know, it's grandpa now. You know what I'm saying? Grandpa Joey. Nah, you know what I'm saying? You know, I have my first grandbaby. You know what I'm saying? You know, she's a blessing, man. Life is good. You know what I'm saying? You know, back at it, you know what I'm saying? You know, check me, you know what I'm saying? You know, every Friday night, you know what I mean? 9 o'clock live. But, you know what I'm saying? You know, trying to get back in the swing of things. You know what I mean? You know, it's been a minute. I've been taking care of business. But yeah, I was talking about the free staff in prison and in PIA, all the free staff in the textile mill were from India. And I'm talking about, you know what I'm saying, the free staff who was my boss, my personal boss. I was lead man for 3 sections, but this dude's name was Balachandra Patole. The dude was from India. He knew his shit when it came to textiles. You know what I'm saying? He was smart. But you know what I mean, you know, he was, you know what I'm saying, you know, he was from India and we didn't have to, you know, he showed us how to do what we needed to do, but that was it. He's not going to do the work. You know, he's above that. We're below that. We're to do the work. And it was a class thing, you know what I'm saying? You know, he was a little, you know what I'm saying, his nose was a little in there. I ain't mad at him, you know what I'm saying, do your thing. But, you know what I'm saying, I learned from the man, you know what I'm saying, and I learned, you know what I'm saying, you know, how to handle myself, and I learned a few things. But it was a work ethic that I was after. You know, I was in prison with a mentality of I'm about to get out. I don't want to live like this no more. I got to do something different. So what am I going to do? Man, look, I'm training myself to go to work. You know what I mean? And people don't understand. I learned this in prison. Oh yeah, this is my this is my rehabilitation. That's some bullshit. Ain't no rehabilitation. You know what I mean? You got to do it. If you want, you got to get it yourself. You know what I mean? You know, the state of California, they do not want you to succeed because then they don't have no clients. They don't have nobody to take care of. So anyway, you know, I figured it out. Look, that shit don't work for me. I'm cool. Y'all can have your system. Snowroc, standing tall, all legit, all the time. But look, you know what I'm saying? This is what works for me. I can't speak for nobody else. This is what works for me. I'll take it. I'll take it. Because this is the longest I've been out of a cage since I was 9 years old. It's crazy, I mean, but it's something for me. And that's the thing. I'm proud of where I am today from where I came from. I've been on the bottom. I've been, you know what I'm saying, I've been below the curb. You know what I mean? How they say, oh, he was to the curb. I've been below the curb. You know what I mean? But I don't have to think about that now. You know what I'm saying? Because life keeps getting better. It's so much coming. And you know what I'm saying? And look, but that's the thing. You know what I'm saying? You have to speak it into existence. And that's the thing. What do you want? Speak on it. Look, I'm blessed. I'm so blessed. Oh, my family healthy. I'm the richest man in the world. I woke up this morning with breath in my body. Thank you. You know. But that's the thing. Like I say, I'm blessed by the best and praying for the rest. I figured the man upstairs kept me here for a reason. I'm still here, so there must be a reason. So every day I ask him, you know what I'm saying, show me what you want me to do and give me the strength to get it done. And look, every day, you know what I'm saying, sometimes I be having struggles, sometimes I go through things, but you know what I'm saying, I just keep pushing forward. And guess what? It keeps getting better. It keeps getting better. Look, like I say, I got everything I need. I don't have everything I want. I still want, you know what I'm saying? I want this and I want that and I want some more and I want a couple of those. But, you know what I'm saying? Maybe it ain't the time right now. You know what I'm saying? So I'm good with that. I ain't rushing. I'm American. Like I said, you know what I'm saying? I'm blessed by the best and praying for the rest. You know. So what's up, everybody? It's Friday night. What y'all got going on? Where the party at? I know somebody getting ready to go get down. You know what I mean? Where we at? Where's going down at? It's at your place, ain't it? Oh, don't be holding out. We coming. We showing up. We on our way. Don't even trip. We be knocking on the door in a few minutes. Nah, man. You know what I'm saying? Work has been going. I got a few things I'm trying to. They trying to get me to learn a few new things. Kind of hard teaching an old dog new tricks, but you got to constantly try and upgrade self every day, all the time. No matter what it is, it ain't got to be work. It ain't got to be. You know what I'm saying? But constantly upgrade. Constantly. You know what I'm saying? Try and educate, learn something every day. Try and learn something new. I try. I don't do it every day, but I try. And that's the thing, with the people, I got good people around me. So, that's the thing. Surround yourself with good people because they make it better. Because that's the thing. I spend most of my life alone. People don't understand. When I say alone, you don't know what alone is until you're a 13-year-old kid and your parents tell you they don't want you no more. So, after, what I'm saying, knuckling up with my dad, he was drinking and he had a drinking problem. What I'm saying, I knocked him out. And after that, he woke up and got his gun. And, boy, you going to get up out of here. So, from there, what I'm saying, old ass on this football. Man, don't be falling for that. He said football. I know you ain't watching the Chargers. Let me stop. Let me stop. Let me stop. Don't get me started. But nah, what I'm saying? Pops, he didn't have a dad. His dad died when he was 3. So he did the best with what he was working with. And, I don't blame him. What I'm saying? I'm good. I accept, what I'm saying, full responsibility. I put myself in a lot of situations that, weren't conducive to a proper gentleman. And you know what I'm saying, I'm not a proper gentleman. I'm a little crude, I'm a little rude, I'm a little special. But my family loves me. Lucky man, yes, very. Nah, you know what I'm saying? So I was talking about the free staff, man, you know what I'm saying? So back to the free staff in prison. So in prison, they have free staff, and these are the ones who are working, but they're not correctional officers. So, you know what I mean? And if they're female, you know what I'm saying? It doesn't matter, you know what I'm saying? They could be like a MTA, a medical technical assistant. Uh, oh, everybody. That's the thing, you know what I'm saying? You got to imagine any woman that comes into prison is going to get a lot of attention. It's full of men, and that's the thing, I've seen a lot of things during my incarceration, and I've seen a lot of female staff come in wearing clothes that might not have been appropriate. And they knew what they were doing. You got to think about it. They're trying to get it. Excuse me. They're trying to get some attention, and they're in the right place because they're going to get it. But I've seen people, you know what I'm saying, crack. When I say crack, I mean, you know what I'm saying, like a breakfast egg. But no, you know what I'm saying, when I say crack, I mean, you know what I'm saying, a guy talks to a female, if he gets the phone number, gets in and, you know, makes her his, then you know what I'm saying, he put his mag down. So I've seen correctional officers, female correctional officers get cracked. And you know what I'm saying, but you know what I'm saying, the inmate ran his mouth bragging, and you know what I'm saying, the other officers found out, and they, they messed the dude up. It was bad. It was in Corcoran. I don't know. Damn fool, you remember that shit? Hatchet and Popeye from Rolling 60s, my neighbors. I don't know if you were there. That's when me and Guy was cellies. But yeah, you know what I'm saying, Hatchet and Popeye. Popeye was a porter, and he ended up cracking the female CO in the building. And she used to be on the phone crying and going through stuff. So he sees this, and that's an opening, you know what I mean? So he gets in where he fits in. And you know what I'm saying? Next thing you know what I mean, he's sliding in the back room and, getting his, I don't know what all he got, but you know what I'm saying, he started bragging to the other guys in the prison, and the police found out. And the police, you know what I'm saying, him and his celly got caught up with a knife because they slid a knife up under his. Now I know that wasn't his knife in the cell, because his knife was next to my knife under the stairs. We both lived in B section under the stairs, you know, and so he was from rolling 60s. I'm from rolling 40s. So you know what I'm saying, he from LA, we from San Diego, but we function, we fucks with each other. You know what I mean? So I know where his shit is at. He know where my shit is at. You know what I mean? He watch out for me. I watch out for him. You know what I mean? We had walked to Chow. We came back from Chow, and then the goon squad go up in the cell, and then they find a knife. Oh man, that was some bullshit. That was some bullshit. So you know what I mean? Literally, I knew this dude's knife was out here. So who put the knife in there? The correctional officers. Now, we didn't see Popeye or Hatchet ever again. I hope all is well. You know what I'm saying? If anybody knows about Popeye from Rolling 60s, uh, tell him Snowroc said what's up. Like I said, I hope, you know what I'm saying, everything went well. I don't know, you know what I'm saying? That was a long, long time ago. Anyway, so look here, that's it for Friday night. We're gonna bring this one to a close, peoples. I will see y'all next Friday, 9 o'clock. See ya.